Yes, Anirudh, I have started the recording as well.
Okay.
Please go.
Yeah. So once again, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. So before starting, I will just start the webinar. So we all are aware that from the big banks and the universities, hospitals, to the retail fashion chains and every level of government, organizations around the world rely on third parties to provide products and services to keep them running effectively and efficiently. This is because outsourcing responsibilities to a third party helps them better serve customers, grow revenues, and cut costs. But bringing on third parties can also introduce a long list of risks that can do a serious damage to an organization's financial and reputational well-being. So for the next 15 to 20 minutes, I will talk on the landscape of the current third-party cyber risk management, TPCRM. What are the apparent gaps in the current approach and how we can mitigate those by taking a right approach and by keeping cyber hygiene. So organizations' business ecosystem includes every single third party like partners, suppliers, government agencies, its franchisees, or even charities in which they donate their money and time, as well as all their vendors. So in this case, these third parties may require access to sensitive company data. For example, if they want to demonstrate the compliance with government regulators, but you often have no ability to define who accesses it or how they use it. And there is a good chance you can't audit it. So it is also possible that these organizations might be sharing highly sensitive information with some of their ecosystem partners as compared to others. As we all know, security is as strong as the weakest link. Most of the organizations do a fairly good job at their own cybersecurity posture. But what about other entities in your ecosystems? That is the third parties. Third-party failures have caused catastrophes in healthcare, banking, hospitality, manufacturing, retail, and the public sector. And they continue to make front page news, especially cybersecurity related ones. Third parties are often the weakest link, making them much easier to target by cyber criminals. In fact, 63% of all cyber attacks could be traced either directly or indirectly to the third parties. To name a few real world examples, multiple organizations sharing a parts vendor were impacted when that vendor got breached. For example, a Tesla, SpaceX. Another similar headline involves a shared media broker getting breached and impacting big names like YouTube and TikTok, Instagram. A Marriott International, one of the largest hotel chains in the world, suffered a data breach. The company discovered that there had been unauthorized access by hackers through its Starwood guest reservation database system, which is their franchisee, and that they were accessing or breaching their system since 2014. AWS S3 bucket leaked over 10 billions of customer records, affecting multiple travel and hotel sites. So let's walk you through the current approach to the TPCRM. Basically, it involves a bunch of a questionnaire and some security assessments. These are limited to external surface of your third parties. For example, these assessments will cover external facing websites, web applications, servers, DNS, etc. Also, these assessments are one-time activity and offer no continuous assurance. Bulk of these assessments involve long questionnaires which provide limited value. And based on the questionnaire, there is a risk score assigned to every third party. It is important to note that some details captured by this method lack evidence and hence cannot be trusted at face value. For example, most questionnaire gather details about patching cadence from third parties, which is difficult to assess. So net, current approach taken by TPCRM tools provides you blurred, sketchy, and incomplete picture of the cybersecurity posture of your third parties. And these could potentially be the weak links in your chain. To support my some of this statement, let me give you some analogy over here. Say if you are looking to buy a new house, would you decide on buying a new house just by walking around the structure and doing an inspection of just the exterior of the house, things like roof, walls, or would you want to step inside the house to inspect the details like how the plumbing and the electrical work is, how are the kitchen appliances, or even HVAC, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems is? To better understand why an outside view of a cybersecurity posture of your third party is not sufficient, let's take a look at anatomy of a cyber attack. So basically, it is a simplified stepwise. This is a simplified stepwise view of a cyber attack that involves the 4 steps: reconnaissance, attack, exfiltration, and sanitation. So in the reconnaissance step, attacker researches target business to get insights into business infrastructure, key employees. Next is the attack step, wherein the attackers trick relevant folks in the organization into deploying malicious payload. This payload is delivered inside the perimeter of the organization. Once the malicious payload is deployed inside the organization, then the exfiltration step begins. This involves lateral movement and privilege elevation to get hands-on sensitive information, which can be either extracted out or it can be encrypted in case of a ransomware attack. And the last step is sanitation, which involves the attackers covering up their tracks to leave no evidence of the attack. You can see the first 3 steps are iterative in nature as attackers maneuver for a successful attack. The apparent gaps in the, let me tell you what are the gaps in the TPCRM approach. The key lesson from the last slide is that in most cases, the malicious payload is dropped within organizational perimeter for successful cyber attack. This implies that an inside view of the cybersecurity posture of your third party is the key to prevent an attack. Once the payload is dropped inside the organization's perimeter, attacker regularly exploit vulnerabilities. Hence, it is important for an organization to have inside out view of the cybersecurity posture of their third parties. Current third-party cyber risk management tools do not provide any means for you to collaborate with your third parties to reduce cyber risks. Most tools are point in time and hence of limited value subsequently, missing continuous assurance of the cybersecurity posture of your third parties. So what exactly desired in TPCRM? A complete view of the security posture of your third parties. And this view should include a detailed inside out view of your third party. Also, it is key to have a complete coverage across all attack surfaces of third parties. This should include cloud, containers, corporate infrastructure, critical infrastructure, code, and more. Again, to prove my statements over here, let me take another analogy here. Say if you are buying a new car, and now while buying, would you just walk around the car to look for any obvious things, or just resend a Carfax report? Or would you rather get a multi-point inspection done for the car, which would cover detailed inside out inspection of various aspects of the car, like how the car's engine and battery life is, how tires, brake pads, and suspensions are. So you need a single pane of a glass that provides complete view of cybersecurity posture of your third parties, along with the ability to collaborate with them to reduce risk exposure. So last but most important, you need a continuous assurance and tracking all along rather than a point in time assessment. So next, the next couple of slides, I will give you an overview of ThreatWatch TPCRM offerings. It is a simple 3-step flow. In the step 1, it begins with a new customer subscribing for TPCRM offering from ThreatWatch. This customer can onboard their third party. Basically, this is a access provisioning step. In the step 2, the third party decides on the level of information sharing, means the privacy level with their customer. At a minimum, vulnerability and misconfiguration details are shared between third party and customer. However, vendor can choose to share all asset details as well, which would include additional details about applied patches, installed product versions, etc. At the heart of this workflow is Twix. Twix is a ThreatWatch information gathering script. It is an open source and a free component. Twix can be used to discover all attack surfaces such as containers, source code repository, software composition analysis, license compliance, public clouds, and container registries. So your third party will use Twix to discover appropriate asset. Twix will report back these assets to customer ThreatWatch instance or subscription. For example, a third party may choose to discover the servers in a specific subnet, which is dedicated for your usage as a customer. So basically, third party get a free ride as their cybersecurity evaluation is done without involving any cost. One thing to note over here, that Twix is not an agent, neither it is an agent nor a daemon process. So it is a very lightweight script which runs just to discover the assets and then stops. And in the last step, once the assets are discovered and available in ThreatWatch, these are visible to both customer and respective third party. A customer may have multiple third parties, and each third party can only see their own assets. A customer can now collaborate with their third parties to prioritize and remediate critical issues. This is an iterative process where with collaboration with between customer and third party. Alerts can be configured to be delivered to customer and third party for new issues discovered. Also, there is a facility to trigger automatic workflows into downstream applications like ticketing, patching, and many more. For all discovered assets, ThreatWatch offers continuous non-invasive assurance and protection. ThreatWatch provides continuous assurance since it automatically assesses all emerging vulnerabilities and threats against discovered assets with any invasive scans. The next slide will give you some of the screenshots of ThreatWatch i3 portal. The first screenshot shows a dashboard view of various third parties for the customer. It helps the customer track these third parties for their risk scores and related trends. That is, to understand if it is getting better or worse. Means if you see, for example, on the screen, if you can see on the screen, there are three organizations, A, B, C, and A has the highest risk score assigned, though it has least number of assets. This screenshot shows drill down into a specific vendor to get more details. This shows total vulnerable assets, assets that have critical impacts, and so on. For example, for organization C, we can see that it has 5 vulnerable assets, of which one asset has a priority impacts which need immediate attention. This screenshot shows how a customer can easily manage their vendors. And the last screenshot helps depict how the customer can onboard and manage users for different vendors. ThreatWatch simplifies the whole lifecycle process around managing vendors and their users as well. One key aspect is that this may start with your third party and can be percolate down to fourth party, fifth party, till your nth party. A large organization can leverage this internally, as well as wherein each function or sub-organization or LOB can be considered as an independent entity and assessed. This can help the organization improve overall cybersecurity posture by stacking and comparing cybersecurity posture of internal departments or divisions. Basically, to sum it up, ThreatWatch helps you get an inside-out view of the cybersecurity posture of your third parties in a single pane of glass, and it allows you to collaborate with your third party to reduce your cyber risk and improve overall security posture. All of this is in a continuous manner without any overheads. So take a moment to think about your third parties. Do you have enough insights into their cybersecurity posture? Or do you know which ones are the weak links in your chain? Yeah, so I think this is the end of the my presentation, and I think I'm open up the floor for any questions. If you have, you can unmute yourself, or you can type in your questions in the chat window, and we have experts who can answer them. Also, if you need any other information, you can visit our website on threatwatch.io, as well as you can email us on info@threatwatch.io, and we have our other LinkedIn and Twitter handles on the screen. Thanks once again for everyone for attending and listening to this webinar.
Thank you, Anirudh. I do have some questions from the chat window that people have shared. So maybe I'll just go over them and share the answers as well. So the first question is, do the vendors need to have their own subscription to the ThreatWatch service? I think this is probably around the subscription and the pricing. So the answer is vendors do not need to have independent subscriptions to the service. They essentially use the same subscription as their customer. So that's the reason why Anirudh mentioned that they have a free ride there. Do you charge based on the number of scans or IPs? So the answer there is no. We don't charge on the basis of scans or IPs. The customer essentially gets a dedicated instance of ThreatWatch, which is sized as per their capacity requirements. Yeah. So the other question is, can I look at the cyber risk trend for my third parties? Absolutely. ThreatWatch will provide you metrics and trends for the risk exposure of your third parties. This one is a little bit more technical, but it's a good question. So does Twigs, which is the discovery component, does it require my vendor to open up any ports or drill holes in their firewalls? No, so it doesn't. Twigs only requires outbound internet access. There is no one dialing into Twigs. So you don't need to drill any holes or open up any ports in your firewall. Yeah, so these were the questions that came in the chat window. If there are any questions here, please feel free to just unmute yourself and go ahead and ask.
Hi guys, nice presentation, Santosh here. Actually, not just vendor, I think most of the companies would want to know their own cybersecurity posture, and I think they can definitely use this one for their own exploration, right? And my question is around Twigs again. So does it need, what kind of privileges it need to run? Does it need admin root privileges? And just there are sub questions. Sorry, does it support cloud assets? And what about the other devices, network devices, security devices that are there in the vendor's network or our own network?
Okay. Yes. So hi Santosh, this is Paresh here. So good questions. The first one was, does Twigs require any super user or root privilege? No, it doesn't. It can just run as a normal end user account. The second question, I believe, was around cloud discovery. So yes. Twigs can be used to discover all of your cloud footprint as well. It doesn't require any special privileges there. Again, all it needs is ability to read and browse information about your cloud subscription. However, the good thing is Twigs doesn't relay any of the credentials that you share with it back to ThreatWatch. So there is no credential sharing happening between Twigs and your ThreatWatch instance.
Okay.
And I forgot the last question. Sorry about that, Santosh.
What about other assets like network devices, security devices, which are important in deciding the posture of any organization, right?
Yes, yes. So that is a good question. So basically, ThreatWatch allows you to model your network devices, your other infrastructure devices. These could be printers, these could be surveillance cameras as assets in ThreatWatch, and it will warn you against any vulnerabilities discovered in those devices and assets as well.
Okay. If time allows, I have few more comments. Can I?
Sure, go ahead.
First is if you have, I mean, you must have read about the CodeCurve breach. CodeCurve is a code coverage provider, and it was breached. And the credentials about customer repositories, Git repositories, were exposed. So how about that aspect of vulnerability, where are there any sensitive things leaking out of repositories? And another question or suggestion is, if we can have a context around what data is being shared with that vendor and some mapping between the vulnerabilities or risks that is being showed, and mapping it with what kind of data that we're sharing with that vendor, because vendor criticality is determined depending on what kind of data a customer is sharing with their vendors.
Right, right. So again, very good points. So for the first point, in Twigs, we do have support for repository scanning. So you can actually scan your source code repositories. It will help you uncover and detect any secrets, tokens, API keys, which might be inadvertently, hard-coded by developers in the source code itself. So those can be uncovered.
Okay.
So that functionality is already there in the solution.
Okay. Last was just suggestion around deciding the severity of the vendor. And some mapping with, okay, we're sharing PII, or we're sharing this kind of data with this vendor. And these are the risks which are really relevant in that context, not just scoring rate, but why it is scored that way. So just a thought, high level. I know I'm getting too deep, but yeah.
No, it makes perfect sense, Santosh. So at an asset level, what we have is something called as business criticality of the asset, and that is taken into consideration while arriving at the risk score for the asset. So for example, you might have an asset which houses customer data or PII information. Similarly, for the vendors, we again have a vendor criticality attribute. So depending on what you are sharing with the vendor as a customer, you may actually set that to an appropriate level, and that is factored in when we arrive at the vendor risk score. So the vendor risk score is going to be essentially your input based on how critical this vendor is, depending on what type of data or information you are sharing with the vendor. And the other aspect is what is the risk score of the assets for that vendor. So effectively, the vendor risk score is considering both these aspects.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, I think we are close to the hour here. So I'll just give it maybe some more time to see if there are any other questions that we can take. All right. I don't think we have...
I have one more, not just vendor, about... we already talked about what kind of vulnerabilities we are considering, but for your core product, as in knowing our own vulnerabilities. So what kind of categories which we didn't discuss today are supported by ThreatWatch, and what's the pipeline? What is coming up?
Yeah. So again, so good question there. So basically, right now, essentially whatever we discussed for a vendor can also be used by the customer for themselves, right? So the customer can use the solution to help secure their cloud, their container images, their container registries, their source code, their compliance when it comes to open source software. So all of this is covered. It also has, very fine features, like it can do static code analysis for your code. It can help you run dynamic application security testing or test. So it can help you identify OWASP top 10 type of issues. So the way I would summarize it is what we think of ThreatWatch is essentially it's like the Swiss Army knife, right? So there are a whole bunch of tools that are made part of the Swiss Army knife, and you can actually leverage this tool to cover multiple attack surfaces, and at the same time have the convenience of getting all of that information in a single glass of pane.
Okay, great.
And in terms of in terms of the upcoming things, one of the roadmap items is to have more alignment with threats, because everyone today actually identifies, what are the vulnerabilities that are affecting you, but which are the threats that are sort of leveraging these vulnerabilities? Because, once we start correlating threats to assets, then it's a different game altogether, because that information is extremely useful for multiple things. Like, first of all, threat hunting. It's very useful for red team exercises and so on. So that's an interesting item that is there on the roadmap, and it's going to be available pretty soon for our customers. And then obviously we have the standard enhancements which come out, like, around reporting and stuff. So I won't bore you with the standard enhancements, but the threat alignment with your assets, and I'm talking pure threat intelligence, which gets aligned with your assets, is the critical bit which is coming up.
Okay, great. So I see this, how this is aligning towards risk, because vulnerabilities, asset and threats ultimately result in risk scoring and risk value and overall risk exposure. So I think it's a good thing to have. Great. Thank you guys.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time to participate in the webinar. Hope you have a good day and a good weekend as well. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. All the best.